A lot of people have the ability to foster, but they can't get over one hurdle, and I'm sure you know what it is.
The foster fail, the risk of having to say goodbye at the end.
Yes, they think I will get attached, and I can't get attached because I cannot make this long-term commitment. How do you not get attached?
Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can learn all about the animal kingdom and become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. Hello, I'm Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. Back in 2022, shelters across the United States had noticed something very significant. Requests to foster had gone up by 90%. Think about it. If you were alive back in 2005, had you heard of fostering at the time? I certainly had not. I thought you either adopt an animal or you don't, and had never really considered that fostering might be a thing. The popularity of fostering had proliferated across the country and across the world, of course thanks largely to the internet and social media. Suddenly, all of those animal lovers who enjoyed the company of animals and caring for animals but couldn't make a long-term commitment to owning a pet had a way to enjoy that company and do some good for their community. If you aren't familiar, the concept of fostering animals is providing the cats, dogs, or perhaps other pets with your home and care for an undetermined amount of time with the intention of keeping spots open inside of shelters for new pets rescued off the streets and eventually finding the pets in your home their forever home. The shortest I've heard of when it comes to fostering is a couple of days, and the longest I've heard of is several years, but on average, I think it falls somewhere in the middle, around several months. A lot of people, including myself, have been through the traumatic experience of a furry family member passing away, and have promised ourselves that we will never subject ourselves to that ever again because it is just too painful. When we think about it, fostering is all of the best parts without that lingering fear. You get to enjoy the companionship and have your story with that animal end on a happy note, with the animal finding their forever home. But there's that doubt lingering in the back of your mind holding you back from fostering. How do I not get attached? Here today on Formosa Fauna, we're joined by a well-seasoned foster, someone who has the experience of fostering in both the United States and overseas here in Taiwan. Today, she's going to tell us how not to get attached.
We're here with Jenna Dodson, who has fostered over 70 dogs and is continuing to work with stray dogs in Taiwan. Could you say hello for us?
Hi, nice to be here.
A lot of people have the ability to foster, but they can't get over one hurdle, and I'm sure you know what it is.
The foster fail, the risk of having to say goodbye at the end.
Yes, they think I will get attached, and I can't get attached because I cannot make this long-term commitment. How do you not get attached?
I view it as a job. My job is to keep the spot open, to get the dog in and out as fast as possible because I have one spot for one foster dog. And so as long as that spot is filled by a dog, then another dog is on the street starving to death. And so the faster I can empty that spot, the more dogs I can save. And so it's like a challenge. It's not like a challenge, it is a challenge. How fast can I take this creature that has forgotten or never known human kindness? How fast can I turn them back into a pet dog and get them adopted so I can do it again? If you treat this dog as a potential pet, if you treat this dog as something you even have a chance of keeping, then the likelihood that you're going to keep it is going to go way up. But if you treat this, as my dad always said, the fastest way to stop loving something is to turn it into work. And so it's like, if you treat this dog as like your job, that it is your job to save him and to get him to his forever home or her forever home, then the part of you that is like, oh, I can't bear to let it go, is just a lot easier to ignore. And then the other way I do it is every day I remind myself of all the reasons I don't like the dog.
No.
Because the dog will remind you why you love it. Every time you're just like, my current foster dog is named Pancake. I'm like, every time I'm like, Pancake, he always wants to see what's in plastic bags. He's like, yes, I do. Now I'm going to come cuddle you and kiss your face.
Jeez, it's like people, have you heard of like manifestation and like,
Yeah.
You've heard of, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And people say that you should wake up and practice gratitude and tell yourself like the 5 things you love about your life, right? You do the opposite.
I do the opposite.
With the dogs. Somebody, this dog sucks because A, B, C, D, E.
Exactly. Pancake. He always like really wants to go up to people and sniff their plastic bags.
That's so
And when he's a 50-pound dog in Taipei, people freak out when he does that.
Oh.
And it's just like, I'm always reminding myself why I don't want to keep Pancake, because Pancake is going to do everything he can to remind me why I do want to keep him.
Okay. When my sister and I would take in strays in the U.S., well, not really strays, but when we'd rescue animals, right? They would always, my dad would tell us to not pick a name, because as soon as you pick a name, you're going to get attached. So as long as you don't pick a name, you're safe. Do you feel like that's true?
I always thought it was very important to pick a name, because adopters can be actually very silly about names. We had a litter, or my friend had a litter. She's a foster as well. She had a litter and she named them after state capitals. And the number of people who only wanted Honolulu. And it's just like, like not to diss that particular puppy, but the dog that was named, what was it? Oh, this was so long ago. A different puppy was like everything you would ever want in a puppy. It was a great puppy, but nobody wanted to look at that puppy because it had the wrong name. Everyone wanted Honolulu. And so I think it's very important to pick the right name for a dog. Again, I've always told myself I can't keep the dog. So it's just like, I can't keep the dog, so it doesn't really matter when I name it.
I think it would help too, going back to your previous point, it would help if you had some sort of ability that the average person doesn't have. That way, as a foster, you can remind yourself that like your space and your time is valuable. So if you can get this dog out, then you can do more than the average person could.
Exactly.
Right. Whereas the average person, if they don't have another ability, they don't know how to train dogs, they don't know how to work with behavior issues, or they don't have the financial capability, right? Then maybe they just, they just adopt.
Well, I didn't know how to do any of the stuff. Before I fostered, I had 2 golden retrievers. They're the easiest dogs on the planet. I didn't know what I was doing when I got into fostering. And I found a mentor. I found someone who had been doing it for 30 years. She'd fostered well over 1,000 dogs. And every time I would have a new issue, I'd call her up and be like, hey, how do I handle this dog? This dog's growling at my brother. What do I do here? And she's like, and she would walk me through step by step. Or it'd be like, I'd call her up and I'd be like, hey, this dog is coughing. And it's like, well, did he pull real hard on his leash while you're walking him? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, that's probably why. And so it's just like, all the things I know come from doing my own research, come from talking to people who have been in the business way longer than I have, come from trial and error. Like, if you're trying, everyone who's been in the foster industry had spirits broken by trying to give a dog a pill. I know so many tricks to give pills to dogs now.
Oh, do you want to share a few?
Okay, so the classic one is peanut butter. I actually think cream cheese is better. Or if you're going to do peanut butter, mix it with oats so it doesn't stick to your hands. Because a lot of times the dogs will come to lick the peanut butter and they'll lick the peanut butter right off the pill, and the pill will still be stuck to your hand. Another one is to wrap it in like ham and just be walking with your plate like, oh, I'm so enjoying this, and then accidentally knock it off your plate. You're like, oh no, don't eat that. And of course the dog's going to eat it. But the dog's going to scarf it down because they're worried you're going to like reach in and try and pull it out. And if nothing works, you just open the dog's mouth and shove it down their throat.
Okay. All right. This is good advice. I would say for people who want to help and want to become a foster, even if you don't have a special skill that will differentiate you from the average person, I think your special skill might just be that you have that good intention to help and make a difference in your community, and you also have the patience.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not.
My biggest recommendation for people who want to start fostering is to not just start fostering for the very first organization they find. Different organizations treat their fosters differently. I mean, that's the reason they're different organizations. My recommendation would be to go and find an organization that treats you the way you want to be treated. So some organizations aren't going to pay for food. I don't want to pay for food. So I find an organization that will pay for food. Some organizations just drop the dog off and they're like, call us if you need anything. And some organizations are like, we expect, regular updates once a week. You need to be sending us photos of how the dog is doing. I prefer organizations that expect regular updates just because I know that I'm not going to be dumped with the dog and then I'm like, hey, when's it getting adopted? But some people prefer the less oversight, and that is fine. But, figure out what you want your fostering experience to look like, and, find an organization that really supports you in that. Of my experience, I think I've fostered for a number of organizations here in Taiwan. I think the most beginner-friendly fostering experience I've had, and I'm obviously no beginner, but the most beginner-friendly experience I've had was through the Taiwan SPCA. They really walked me through everything. They would send little reminders of hey, this dog needs his medication today. And they provided everything that was needed. And they provide both dogs and cats. And they are always looking for new fosters. So if you're looking to be a beginner foster, I would start by reaching out to them. But again, there are so many organizations. I'm by no means knowledgeable on all the Taiwan organizations.
Does the responsibility to get the dog adopted fall with you? With them? What is usually your situation?
Oh, it depends organization to organization. That's why I'm really investigate the organization. Because some organizations are just the dog is safe in a foster, moving on. And I don't like those because, again, my goal has always been move the dogs as fast as possible. Now, I am someone who really loves making stupid little Instagram videos, and I love marketing my dogs on social media. So oftentimes I am very involved in getting my dogs adopted, but it should never be on the foster. It should always be on the organization to get the dog adopted. I love being a part of it, so I don't mind if it's my job, but for beginner fosters, it should always be on the organization to get the dog adopted.
Okay. And in that regards, I mean, of course, 100% of the time, it should be them screening applicants, making the application.
Yeah.
And then finding a suitable match, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would think, I'm just imagining here, seeing as the dog or the cat is inside the foster's home, that they would be at least responsible for taking photos and videos?
Yes, the foster really is very much responsible for getting those photos and videos because a lot of applicants, they're going to be attracted by photos and videos. And so if you are not providing that, the dog is not getting adopted. So if you aren't ready to take photos and videos of the dog, it's not going to be a huge help.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's something that's pretty easy for a lot of people.
It's very easy and it's a lot of fun. If you look at my photo reel on my phone, it's entirely dogs or photos of my family. I have one Instagram handle for my current foster dog, but he's hopefully getting adopted soon.
Oh, so you have separate Instagram accounts for different dogs.
Exactly. Previously, I was running Instagrams for the rescues I volunteered for, but now I'm currently, I volunteer for small rescues. I help them get their Instagram started, and then I hand it off to a very capable volunteer, start again, because I just like the beginning process. I don't like the maintenance.
So if the dog was adopted and you already had an account, would you then pass that Instagram account off to the adopter?
So Pancake is the first. Pancake, my current foster, is not through an organization. He's through a loving mother, which is basically a Taiwanese woman who just was like, yeah, I'm going to start saving dogs. And then she does. And there are lots of incredible loving mothers out there in Taiwan. But so previously, all of the dogs have been posted on the Dog Rescue's Instagram. But because Pancake is through a loving mother who is not a dog rescue, I just had to make Pancake his own Instagram handle. But I think it's Pancake the Formosan or something.
Oh, Pancake the Formosan.
Yeah, something like that.
Thank you so much, Jenna Dodson. And if you are looking at the RTI website, you can check out some more information there. I'll make sure that Instagram handle is in there, as well as some more useful information. Do you want to say bye?
Bye.
On the topic of foster fails, I think it's great to mentally prepare yourself so you have the confidence that you need to start or continue fostering, and I think it's possible for everyone to avoid having foster fails, as they call it. However, if you have fostered before and you do have a foster fail or 2 or 3, I'd also like to say that's completely okay. And I think we should all practice kindness with ourselves and not be too harsh by actually thinking like you failed. In fact, the term foster fail online is one I've seen being used as a term of endearment. People proactively posting "me and my foster fail on Sunday" as a caption alongside a cute photo because they don't take it that seriously. If someone gains a foster fail in the end, that's probably what's best because they determined that they were the best choice, the best home for that animal. And then that animal is right where they need to be. If you've been listening to Formosa Fauna regularly, you'll know that I also have a foster at home. I call her Strong Kitty. I'm trying to manifest good things for her, and she's completely blind in one eye and being nursed back to health after catching 8 or 9 diseases out on the streets. I would love to care for this cat for the rest of my life or her life and just make sure that she has all of the love, attention, care, toys, food, and whatever else she could possibly want or need. But there is a very good excuse holding me back from making that long-term commitment. That excuse would be that she has FIV, which is almost like HIV in humans, but in cats. It can be transmitted to other cats and cannot be cured. My cat at home is FIV free, so there's just no world in which I'm the best home for her because I have to be responsible for my cat. So once I'm confident that she's at a good weight and in better condition, I will start the search for her forever home with the help of some local shelters who already have the system in place to filter out unsuitable homes. For now, I have to keep the cats completely separate. It was lovely chatting with Jenna Dodson, who I truly admire and look up to for her heart of steel and significant contributions to society, both in the US and in Taiwan. I will have her back on the show, so look forward to hearing from her again in the near future. Hopefully, today's discussion with Jenna Dodson will also help you realize that if you are living overseas for any period of time, you do also have the choice to help out in the community and foster, even if you don't speak the local language. Specifically in Taiwan, there is a big need for help, big need for fosters. So even if you aren't from Taiwan or you don't own your apartment or your home, that is okay, usually, if you check with your landlord. And I knew a pair of digital nomads. It was a couple who stayed in Taiwan for just a couple years, maybe over 2 years. And during that time, they had also fostered, I think, over 40 cats. So really, you can make a difference if you are willing to. I think the first step to do that would be to reach out to your local shelters and ask them, hey, do you need a foster? And then take it from there. Each organization has their own way of going about things and their own regulations and rules and checks that they need to do. So honestly, the first step would just be to say, hey, can I help? And they'll find a place for you because they need the help. Have you ever had a memorable experience with an animal? Whether it's an observation or an interaction, the thousands of stories you could tell as a pet owner, I want to hear about it. So please send me an email at tristan@rti.org.tw. That is Tristan, Tristan, @rti.org.tw. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friend. All animals require enrichment, and Formosa Fauna is just that. After all, we're all just a bunch of wild animals. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.